Here we go. So there it was again, my family questioning my choices. They loved me to pieces, but I was still living in the sheltered past of my youth. Not that my youth had been peaceful, far from it. For that reason, in my age, I now decided to distance myself from them. This, they warned, was what a controlling boyfriend or a cult was. But I had neither, so I took the pill that I had stashed in the passenger side visor of my sister's car and took it. I figured I had just long enough to get to my best friend's house 15 minutes away. Rummaging through my pockets, I pray for a buck. Luckily, let's see, oops, 45 at 45 seconds. Son of a, okay. All right. I head to the bus terminal. Oh, with luck, I have 5. I head to the bus terminal 3 or 4 blocks away. I get there and a nice young mom asks me for directions to her bus. I still have a few minutes, so I escort her to her bus. I'm helping her on, and a guy behind me starts going through my backpack. I think he's taking one of my buttons or pins I treasure. The people are packing on, and before I can tell him something, the crowd has pushed me onto the bus. I check my backpack and everything's in there, and I start making my way to the back to the exit. The driver announces that the departure and destination. I finally make it to the front of the bus, but she's pulled off. There was no stopping the bus, but I make my way to the front and ask for the next stop. I tell her I'm going to such and such streets, but I have to get off anyways, so I just resign to get off at the next stop. When we approach the stop, I notice that the street is in an industrial section of town. I vaguely wonder where the bus was going. A handful of people got off the bus. Most walked to the right, where some industrial buildings were. I figured that the bus had gone to the right of the bus station of my intended direction, so I started walking to the left, seemingly empty streets. I walked past a wheat mill by around the time the pill had started kicking in. Instead of machines shifting the wheat, it was some sort of animal. It was making noise and stacking the pieces of wheat off the stalk. I remember that I should tell my best friend not to eat so much bread because of all the hard work it took to make it. I don't understand why with my brain on this pill would see them as living beings, but with the soothing hum, I decided that I would not get over those train tracks that were just beyond the street and in the direction of my friend. So I slipped into the warehouse as soft droplets began to fall. I was fixing my shoes when a repairman came in and asked what I was doing there. I told him I was getting out of the rain, and he motioned to the machines as if I should be scared. Because I could get hurt, he said. I said I hadn't noticed, but by now the pill had taken its toll and all I wanted to do was sleep. I started talking to the machines, and he was about to hurt them before I calmed them down myself. To me, it was just like petting an animal. They all calmed down. And it was a quiet lull as some came to lay by me, and I hugged them as I fell asleep. The next morning, I must have been in trouble because the police were trailing me. I managed to find my friend's house. I was wearing ridiculous boots, and the residue of the pill made my feet feel heavy. It wasn't the first time. I'm almost constantly in trouble, but always just out of their reach. Apparently not this time. I have my key in hand ready to open the front door, and they rush me. Gentle contact, but contact nonetheless. No Miranda rights here, apparently. They tell me I'm under arrest, and I struggle against them and ask them why. I get no answer. I think quickly. Either this is a legitimate arrest or a terrorist arrest. The later they would hold me indefinitely regardless. I'm prepared for torture. My mind goes quickly but thinks of the first. If it's actually an arrest, then I need to start to record what I say, all of it. I'm about to say I'm going to stab the guy just so that I know they're recording, but I continue. This is entrapment, it's against my civil liberties, my intellectual rights, and further misuse of my human rights and laws. They spray me with something that keeps me from talking, but when they hear this, they talk amongst themselves and decide to let me go. Apparently, I'm worth more than the trouble. It's more trouble than it's worth, I think. In between the gasp, I ask why. Again, no answer. They release me. I'm just gathering my wits about me when I start the lonely walk home from where they've carted me. I'm still reeling from the pill, talking to machines like animals, and the shock that I was prepared for torture for no reason other than my belief is that society is that misguided. I must be dead. The effects of the pill, perception issues, they should wear off by the time I get home. The pill is called by many names: summer, because of the sumer, because of the cradle of civilization; enlightenment, summer, as in summer, and maybe a play on words on soma, as in a brave new world. No one knows, but to anyone that uses it, it's like a prescribed medication. It's all of the above. Back in the day, before drugs had been legalized, they would have called this a designer drug. Odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly, non-habit forming, and no side effects. Now the pharma company sells it over the counter. Busy executives take it like Tic Tacs, but normal people take them like Tylenol, and smart people like me and my friend go without it for months. The effects can only be slightly exaggerated, hence the talking to machine, but it provides clarity and the ability to reason through any thought, a sense of well-being and happiness. Basically, we are in the fringe group that thinks that reality's ups and downs are the drugs, and anesthetizing is only needed periodically. We had a method for the madness. It's not like we were not functioning without it or with. We just choose when we augment our reality, like they used to 185 years ago. Me personally, I call it like your mind is a somersault. It deposits you where you left, but with new understanding. Less heavy, less drained, lighter. My friend calls it Sue. Everyone has a unique take. I'm walking through the courtyard moderately busy, thinking still in a shocked way that what if I hadn't protested? Would I still have been detained? Were they scared of my remarks, my declaration of rights, or the fact that I knew I was still feeling the effects of some? And so it is so acceptable that you're basically untouchable. Regardless, I'm walking from the southeast to the northwest side of the courtyard when a young man in vintage attire runs past me. A little alarmed, I move aside and stare at how far I still have to walk. Suddenly, I have a tap on my shoulder. I look over and I'm still walking, and the man is keeping pace with me, holding out my bit D. It must have fallen out of my back pocket. Thanks, I say. I return it back to my pocket. My BIDI is a biometrics identifier, information sharing, telecommunications platform device. Everyone has one. It resembles a key fob, one of the most important things you own, but replaceable. Even toddlers get a play one in kinder, a cute one with googly eyes. The stranger wants me to say something more. I scrunch my nose and say, I wish I had something to show my appreciation, but I've had a hell of a day. Oh no, it's okay, he replies. He smiles wide but longingly. He looks hella familiar, but I'm not just trying to get home from this at this point. A name comes across to mind, but this man looks different. Odd in the clothes he's wearing, my smile softens. Here, let me give you my info. Maybe I'll be able to return the favor someday. I hold out my thumb and he presses his bit. Okay, he smiles, clearly satisfied. Favors were a form of currency. More people that you've connected with, the more people you could call on. More validity to your character, so on and so forth. I was breaking even. Fringe people were usually at zero. Going without some made seizing Good Samaritan points even harder. Not as clear-headed or focused, but I was on a different mission than most. Everyone likes to think they're special, but I was sure I was onto something. What that was, only the big God knew. My good orderly direction told me to break even for the time being, so with some hesitation, I pressed my thumb to his biddy, and then I remembered how he ran and how much of a headache it would have been to buy a new one, especially since the one that I had the most current, untampered version of my most recent interactions with Sumer, the machines, police. I smile, and he smiles back. I walk away and remember so fast that this is how people meet each other most of the time. I can almost hear myself smacking myself on the forehead. What an idiot, I say to myself. I turn and look at the guy, but he's long gone. I finally get home for a second time and reach my biddy to the door so it'll open, and with a small slide, it's open. My husband is home. Sarah, he says, remember, I got remarried. I'm confused. He reaches for the blister packs and tells me to hold out my hand. I'm confused. I trust this man with my life, so I do as he says. But in the palm of my hand is a new somersault pill. I tell him I don't want to. I just had a crazy day. The last thing I want to do is think about this clearer. You're just going to have to leave. If not, he says sharply. I relent. He hands me a cup of water and I swallow the pill. He tells me to sit. He tells me again that he remarried and introduces me to his wife. I greet her calmly and I smile. The most instant effects of easiness wash over me. Sarah, this is you. I wrinkle my nose. What? This is you. You are not you, what came from Sarah's consciousness 150 years ago. This is the original you. What? I would wait till it clicks, but we had a date and somewhere to be, and I can't entertain today. So this is the fast version. You are you, always have been, always will be, but you are not the original you were. We thought you were for a little, but we've sorted it all out. You can wait here for a few minutes till it all comes back. It's a shock, is what the doctors can tell us. Rest and then you're ready to order yourself a cab. Like you would a hug. Would you like a hug? I'm still confused. This day is odd, but the pill's already started with its effects. Slowly, I'm remembering. I don't belong here. I was on my way to a friend's house before the near arrest threw me off. But I'm not the original, and I'm not you. Then what exactly did they want with me, other than maybe trespassing? But then my biddy rings, and the dispatch is on the other end. M137286-ZRT, Sarah, this is police dispatch with the request meeting with you about earlier today, and I assure you that this is all a misunderstanding and our sincere apologies. Report to 20 White Spruce for your medication, or for your mediation. We chose it close to your most current housing near Dewey and South. Ugh, I moan. They can hear it on the other end, but I don't care. The pill isn't working. I go over to the pills, I press my thumb on it, and it deposits another in my hand. This isn't a request. I was just voluntold to show up. I hang up and chew the second one. Then the first one starts kicking in. I've been divorced 3 months now. I've been staying with a friend. Being sober is the name of the game now, and everyone doesn't know what to do with me. I appeared out of the blue, and finally the government has enough cases to openly admit that there are sleepers out there. They assign you a number, and you have a total human rights. As no one understands what's going on, amnesia is almost standard. The ones that don't have amnesia pretend, because mostly if they do remember, it's off to a laboratory for you twice a week. And sober means 5 different types of soma a day to figure out where we come from. Walking lab rats. I must have gone without it again. I'm starting to think that it's not some at all. They say paranoia is also a side effect. To the perfect pill with no side effects, we hurt the pharma companies. I get to 20 White Spruce Drive, a 2-door manor with a doorman waiting for me. Good evening, Miss Sarah. Permission to confirm authorization? Granted, I say, and hold up my thumb. Thank you, he responds. Let's get this over with, I say, now with my full capabilities. I walk into the office with the district attorney seated next to an empty chair and the general inspector seated opposite. Legal structures had changed over the last 100 years with the ethics renaissance. He holds out his hand and I smile and nod, ignoring his and sitting down. He begins. I'll summarize because it's too damn tedious to go into this line by line, but ultimately it went, thanks for getting off your meds. You were right. You fixed all the machines at the warehouse, and important to bring me in was to translate to bring you into force. He apologized profusely and offered accommodations if I agreed to join the vigilance program. I told them I was already being vigilant and I had no interest being part of a group study, and if they violated that, I would feel pushed to seek legal counsel. The DA handed me their card and I pushed out my chair and thanked the Inspector General. Finally, after being forced onto a bus, getting off somewhere I didn't need to be, being forced to find shelter from the rain, where something misunderstood as me was being mistreated, beat to conform, then being heavy-footed to trudge all the way back home, almost to be arrested, to finding out my home wasn't my home, to recruitment, I was just sick of it all. I felt like every cartoon that just wants to end it, vintage cartoons, because now that everyone was on some sort of soma or no one was supposed to have these urges, I arrived at my friend's house. I throw myself face first onto his couch. He's in his recliner playing VR. I buzz him and his biddy, and he turns around scared. Shit, Sarah, you can't just appear out of nowhere. Shit, you, Brian, I told you I was going to come over. Yeah, last night, he says, not in the middle of the afternoon. How did you know I wouldn't have company? You do have company, I responded. I'm here. Ugh. He turns off his console. It's tedious to get to it by line, but I basically debriefed my friend on the goings-on. He's still reclining in his easy boy, hands in a triangle like a psychotherapist. Lots of hms and ha's and okays. I'll skip the line for line, but I was at the part with the Inspector General and getting recruitment. When my biddy went off, it was the random stranger asking me for $1. I fished into my pocket, and sure enough, I still had 4. It would have been an easy 10 to get a new bit D, so I say absolutely. My friend says, You come, you interrupt my VR, and now you're off again? Who is this guy anyway? Oh, I say, do I detect jealousy? Pfft, no, he says. Let me walk with you. Thanks. We're walking, talking. I ask him how everything's been. He says, okay. A lady walks past me and she mutters under her breath, "You want to destroy society, don't you?" She walks past me briskly, and it takes me a second, but I told her, without change, nothing is possible. The time, the earth, the wind, the flowers, everything you hold dear is because of change. Even the structure of your beliefs is based on rejuvenation. Don't come at me like that. She walks away. Suddenly, the intercom overhead blares. Due to new governmental legislation, everyone is now up for review. Everyone looks at each other. The clerks behind the desk at the closest kiosk tries to unlock her screen. It has started to beep. The announcement continues. Due to recent events implementation, 1 to 10 computer consoles will now explode. Please try to disable them. Those capable will earn a promotion. Countdown in 30, 29. I turn to a friend. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah, it's first protocol, I say. We march over to the console that is beeping, and now 10 beeps away. I disable the monitor, and he pulls the plug of the hard drive. With the wireless electricity, it's as simple as flipping a switch. Everyone is 10 feet away. Me and him just wait to either get blown up or promoted. No explosions, so I guess it's the latter. They're going to do a close-up on the monitors that were successfully disabled, and both of us dash to the nearest exit or alcove. They identify us eventually, but without witness, without reward, I think. We smile at each other, each of us aware of the new hero syndrome that swept society about 3 generations ago. Everyone willing to take the fall or pass along the credit. As ethics was still on the rise and the ego was still in decline, it wasn't surprising that there were consoles that were either with no one or a group of people. We were noticing the commotion. He asked me why they might have done that now. He asked, but what I heard was something isn't right today. I analyzed further. Why does it feel like they're testing me? He leaves me at the cafeteria at the center of town where I'm supposed to meet the stranger. He tells me to ring him if anything, and tells me not to show up at all willy-nilly. Yeah, that's still a thing in 2204. I'm walking towards the guy, and 2 non-uniformed police stop me. Miss Sarah, come with us. Soon I'm in a white room with a counter and a secretary behind it. Sarah, do you understand why you're here? Who you are? When you are? I said, yeah, I'm Sarah. It's 2204, and I can't remember where I am. I know I'm near my friends. We walked. Then it hits me. I know where I am. I know that guy. That's my guy. My guy from where, though? How do I know him? So I'm so excited to see him now. Is that? Yes, the secretary says, but you cannot see him until you finish writing a book. What? I'm confused. You need to write the book or you're exiled and we'll never see him again. What? I'm confused. What is this place? The phone rings and says, yes, sir, right away, sir. Miss Sarah, go through that door. Mr. will be waiting for you. I walk through the door and all the memories flood back. I run to him. It's you. Yeah, he says. I was afraid he wouldn't recognize me. I did. He picks me up off the ground and kisses me hard and spins me around. I kiss back. I reminded him that I was tired of fucking with time and that any amount of spinning was confusing. He got them to exile us on a planet by ourselves. And that's when I woke up.